Everybody, welcome back to this random journey. Today is day 21 of our book a week challenge, and I am still reading in the Atomic Habits book. I show you every time and it's like backwards. I'm sorry, it's just a habit. I just show you. And then I also am reading in my Bible. We started First Chronicles, lots and lots of names. I read 6 chapters because I'm like, well, if I read a little extra, it'll go faster. So there was lots of names. It was like this person was the son of that person, and this person had that person, and it was a lot of that. So it wasn't too exciting. But I also got a new book. Remember I told you guys I ordered a new book? It's How to Study the Bible for Yourself by Tim Lahan. Oh, you guys can't see it. I keep showing you. Anyway, so I'm super excited about it, and I didn't realize this, but it's a signed copy, so that was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm going to be starting to read that and hopefully get some ideas for how to study my Bible more effectively. You guys know that I am working on memorizing, so I have my flashcards. I'm trying to memorize all of John chapter 1. So far, I am all the way up to verse 14. So I have not been able to get as many verses in a day that I would like. It's almost about one to two a day is what I'm finding out, depending on the length of the verse. But I am working on that still. I got me a big old thing of water. I haven't drank anything all day, and my throat is like super dry. So I'm sorry if I sound gravelly. I really need to work on drinking more water. All right, let's get into the Atomic Habits book. I read 3 chapters in Atomic Habits today, 8, 9, and 10. And so we'll go over those really quick and what I got from them. Chapter 8 was how to make a habit irresistible. We all want to know how to make a habit irresistible, right? It says super normal stimuli. So it had this concept of super normal stimuli, and it gave an example. It gave a story of these birds that he saw, that a professor or something saw, that had a red dot on their beak, and the baby birds, every time the mom or dad would come up, the baby bird would peck at the red dot on the beak. So they tested it out to see if adding the red beak and making it bigger did anything, adding more, if that did anything. Well, of course it did. The bigger the dot, the crazier the little baby birds would peck on it. And whenever they added 3 dots, the little baby birds went crazy. Because they associated that with, and they were born with the instinct to peck on the red dot in order to get their food from their parents. So that's kind of, in essence, what this supernormal stimuli is all about. So it gave an example of this for like us, junk food being one of them, and our instinct to want the junk food is kind of ingrained into us, because we used to food wasn't as accessible, and we would look for the high calorie foods in our environment. So you'd want the nuts and the seeds because they are high in fat. You'd look for the fruit because it's sweet. And so the higher, or the more it tasted good, the higher kind of the calorie content for the most part. So it was talking about that and how companies have now figured out the perfect process and how to make you crave wanting these foods that they make. And so they talked about how they have found the perfect bliss point. So basically it's the amount of crunch versus the amount of smoothness that goes into each thing, and the amount of sweetness, the amount of saltiness. They spend hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to figure out all these things, and they have like dedicated departments in their companies to figure out what's the bliss point for this food. And it talked about how if you're eating kale, and after, eating it for a few bites, after, a little while, you don't want the kale anymore because it's the same texture over and over and over again, and you immediately feel full. Whereas with these processed foods and things that these companies are giving us, they have this bliss point, and it's all the textures and everything is so there's so much variety in there that it makes us want it, and we can just keep eating and keep eating and keep eating and never really feel full from it. I thought that was really interesting. So it's basically a heightened version of reality that elicits a stronger response than usual. So it will trigger, if you see a cookie, chocolate chip cookie, if I see a chocolate chip cookie sitting on a counter, I immediately know that's going to be delicious and I want to eat it. Especially with my Aunt Paula's, because she makes the best chocolate chip cookies. But anyways, talked about dopamine. So dopamine is released not only when we experience pleasure, but it's also when we anticipate it. And he actually said, he had a chart and this diagram showing that dopamine is for the first time you do something or are going to try something, the dopamine spike was at the end where the reward was. But the second time when you came to do that thing, the dopamine response was when you anticipated doing that thing, and then you didn't get the dopamine response at the end. And then there was a third one where the dopamine response was at the beginning, and then at the end it was actually a dip down because you didn't get the reward that you was expecting out of it. Like, he likened it to like building up a vacation, and like you dream about this vacation and in your mind it's just going to be so great and it's going to be awesome, and then you go on the vacation and it's not as great or wonderful as what you had thought or planned. So actually the dopamine of planning it was greater than the actual trip. And he said it can actually be a letdown of dopamine in some cases, and in some cases it can be delayed dopamine reaction at the end. So it can be, you can have your big spike, and then you go and you level out, and then you're like, oh, I'm not getting whatever it was, and so your dopamine level actually starts to drop a little bit. But then the reward it comes later, and there's another dopamine spike. It was just very interesting. He has all kinds of scientific charts and stuff, and he has like really good descriptions and stuff below them. So it's really cool. So it's the anticipation of the reward, not the fulfillment of it, that gets us to take action. He talked about something called wanting versus like liking something. He said that whenever there was a study, whenever I have it written down, the percentages, it's like they wanted it was 100% dopamine release in the brain, like all the places that light up with whatever that light up was 100% lit up before, so when you were just wanting whatever it was. But then whenever they liked or got the reward from it, it was only 10% dopamine release. So I thought that was interesting. The dopamine driven feedback loop, and it talked about that and how there was a rat study where they did a study on rats and how they would give the rats they suppressed it, so they made it to where they couldn't have dopamine, like where they couldn't produce it, and the rats wouldn't survive. They kept on dying because you need dopamine in order to take action, even for the little things in life, like getting a drink of water, which I should do right now. So yeah, I thought that was so interesting that they would just stop living. They would stop having any desire for anything without the dopamine, even a little bit of the dopamine response. They also did a study with mice, and they would, every time that the mice would put their nose into a certain hole, they would give them dopamine, a shot of dopamine. And then, so every time, so they got to the point where they were doing it 100 times per hour. These mice were sticking their nose in to get the dopamine hit. And they said it's very similar to humans with like, they have like a slot, go to like the slots, like slot machines. They said that a slot machine player will play 600 times in an hour just to get that dopamine hit. which is why gambling is so addictive, is because you get a dopamine hit from it. It says habits are dopamine-driven feedback loop. Every behavior that is highly habit-forming is associated with higher levels of dopamine. So you get a greater response out of it. Talking about temptation building. Link in an action you want. So this is how it said that if you want to build upon something and make it to where you can have a habit that's irresistible, or to build a habit, is to link the action you want to do with an action you need to do. And it's playing off of chapter, I believe it was 5, where it was doing the I'm going to do this at this time in this place. You guys remember that from a few videos back? It says, after current habit, I will habit I need to do. After habit I need, I will habit I want. So, he gave an example of a gentleman who was in some kind of a computer class or something, and he realized he needed to exercise more. So he made it to where his exercise bike was hooked up to his TV somehow in his computer, I think. Anyways, and anytime he wanted to watch like Netflix, he had to pedal at a certain speed, otherwise he couldn't watch TV. And so he was using this system, this temptation building system. So it's basically rewarding yourself for doing it. And he said you could do it with everything in life. So something as simple as, I need to take care of my emails and sort through those. You would maybe do that while you was getting a pedicure or something like that. So that was very interesting. Chapter 9 was the role of family and friends in shaping your habits. Hi.
Oh, sorry.
You're all right. That was Michael. He's kind of talking apparently. The role of family and friends in shaping your habits. And this one I thought was really cool, just because I already kind of have realized this in life and have been taught this in life, that the people you are around are going to form who you become. But let's go through what he talked about. The seductive pull of social norms was the first little chunk he talked about. We intimidate that we basically do the habits of the close, the many, and the powerful. And so he went over the close, the many, and the powerful in different sections in this chapter. So we'll go over the close first. And this was basically talking about people who you're closest to, like family or really close friends. It says a person's chance of becoming obese increases by 57% if he or she had a friend who became obese. And then it said if one person in the relationship, like if your husband was to lose weight, then you are 1/3 likely to lose weight as well, which I thought was really cool, because obviously I'm trying to lose weight. I talk about we soak up the qualities and practices of those around us. And it gave 2 things. It said to join a culture where your desired behavior, and it's always talking about this desired behavior. So you want to join the culture, so change the environment, kind of like he was talking about in the last video. I was talking about the environment, and it was talking about joining a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. If it's not a normal behavior and you're around people who are overweight and want to eat ice cream every night, or you go out with your girlfriends or your boyfriends if you're a guy, and you're hanging out and all they want to do is play video games all night, or they want to just go to I don't know, places that would be bad for whatever you're wanting to build in your life, then you need to not spend as much time with those people, because this is what my pastor says. He says you will become your friends. So whoever you hang out with is going to be where your destiny is. He said, I will show you your future determined on your friends, basically. So number 2 was the many. So it was really cool because I had actually heard of an experiment. It had a line experiment where the person who was being tested went into a room with subjects who were actors, and they were shown a line, and then they had a graph with 3 lines. And at first they would show the line, and then they would pick the right answer, all the people that was actors. And then it got to a point where they would show one, and people would start picking the wrong one over on the 3 side, and the person would be like, at first, like, that person didn't know what they're talking about, but then like multiple people in a row, and it got their turn, and they decided to give the wrong answer even though they knew it was wrong, but because everybody else said that this was the right one, they went with that. So I had actually seen a study where there was a person, it was a video on YouTube or Facebook maybe, where this person came into a waiting room, and there was people in the waiting room, like it was filled up. They came, and there was a beep, and then everybody in the room stood up that was actors, but this one person was not an actor, and they looked around like, why are they standing up? And then over time, the beep, everybody would stand up when the beep, and then they would sit down. And then eventually this person joined in with these actors who was, you know, coming up and down, and one by one they went to their appointment, and then they started bringing in new people into the room. And the person who in the beginning didn't know anything about the experiment and just was going off of what these other people was doing, every time there was a beep after all the actors were gone, she still continued to stand up and sit back down. And when the new people came in, they said, why are you doing that? She's like, everybody else was. And so every time there was a beep, then her and this new person, and then they started filling in all the people, and over time all the people, I believe, wound up standing up. So that I was like, oh, I know this, what this concept is and what they're talking about here. It's very interesting. It says, whenever we are unsure how to act, we look to the group to guide our behavior. And that's so true, right? If you're not 100% sure, I know if I go into a new environment, I'm like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. And then I'm looking around to see what everybody else is doing so that I don't look silly. But I guess that's not a great way to think. It says, the reward of being accepted is often greater than the reward of winning an argument, looking smart, or finding truth. And it was that last thing that really got me. When it said, finding truth. Because you all know by now, if you've watched my channel for any length of time, that I am faith-based. And so whenever I saw finding truth, I was like, I have to make sure that I am delving in and looking for truth myself. And looking for truth in all things in life. And not just going with what everybody else is saying, or what culture is saying, or what have you. So of course that really sparked my interest whenever it said that. And then 3 was imitating the powerful. There's that word, imitating. Anyways, imitating the powerful. Once we fit in, we start looking for ways to stand out. So once you have finally fit into this crowd, now you want to stand out. You want to get successful. You want to be successful. You want to have power. You want to have all these things. And it says we are continually thinking, what will others think of me? What will others think of me? So that will actually keep us from doing a lot of things that we want to do in life, which is so sad. And I need to work on this because I think this, I know a lot. And whenever it said that, I'm like, I've totally said that probably like 10 times this week alone. So I need to overcome that and try to figure out how to, he said it's hard, but you can overcome caring what other people think, basically. And that's something I've learned in this chapter that I really need to work on. It says altering our behavior based on the answer. It says we are continually thinking, what will others think of me? And altering our behavior based on the answer. And that's a scary, sad thing sometimes to think about, that we do that. Anyways, chapter 10, guys. Chapter 10, and it was finishing up so it's the book's broken into parts. So there's the cue. This was the craving part. So this chapter finished up this whole part of the book. And it basically is taking the law. Okay, so chapter 10, how to find and fix the cause of your bad habits. So it's basically taking the law, law 2, which is make it attractive, and flipping that upside down and saying make it unattractive. So you're inversing the law that he has given you to be the opposite. And it says your cravings come from, a craving is just a specific manifestation of an underlying deeper motive. And it talked about how we're all ingrained with certain things that we want to get done, or want to feel, or that kind of thing. And it gave some examples and stuff, and I'll try to give this to you in just a second. It says, look at nearly any product that is habit forming, and you will see that it does not create a new motivation, but rather latches on to the underlying motives of human nature. And these are the examples. To reduce uncertainty, we'll Google it. Or to connect and bond, we'll get on Facebook and search and look. So it gave several examples. Those two really stuck out to me because it's so true. Like, how many times have you been worried about something? I don't know, with kids, I'm always Googling things for my kids. I'm worried about a rash, or I'm worried about a bug bite, or whatever the case may be, and I'm very uncertain about what to do for it. As his or her mom, I just don't know what to do. And so I'll Google it. Not always a good thing to do, by the way. Have you ever regretted Googling something? I have. But anyway, so it's always linked back to human nature, the instincts we have in human nature. Habits are attractive when we associate them with positive feelings. And then it went on to talk about how to reprogram your brain to enjoy hard habits. It says, you can make hard habits more attractive if you can learn to associate them with a positive experience. It's a have to instead, and then you change that, the have to phrase, into a I get to. And so he's talking about, I have to get up and go to work early. I have to do the dishes. I have to fold the laundry. I have to walk the dog. Instead, say, I get to get up in the morning to go to a great job. I get to wash the dishes. I get to fold the laundry. I get to walk the dog. He said the power in changing just your verbiage from one word, the have to get, has a huge impact on your brain and what it thinks and how it enjoys things, which I thought was very interesting. It gave an example of a gentleman who was in a wheelchair, and they said, how does it make you feel being confined to a wheelchair? He said, I'm not confined, I'm free in this wheelchair. He says, if I didn't have this wheelchair, then I would be confined to home in a bed. And so his outlook was very positive, and he was looking at the best possible thing in his situation, which is what we need to work on doing, I guess. It says, reframing your habits to highlight their benefits rather than their drawbacks. That's basically what the guy in the wheelchair was doing. And it says, Q equals craving. Example. Okay, this is the kind of the finale. The example. You can adopt this strategy for nearly any purpose. Say you want to feel happier. And I really liked this. I don't know why, but say you want to feel happier. It says, find something that makes you happy. I.e., I like to pet my dog. So if you like to pet your dog, it says, before you pet your dog, because petting your dog or whatever activity it is, maybe you like to read a book, maybe whatever makes you happy. Before you do that, take 3 breaths, just 3 deep breaths, and then smile, and then pet your dog and be happy. And keep doing that continually. And then when you're having a bad day at work, what you're going to do, if you want to feel happy, you're feeling sad, or you're feeling down about the world and the chaos we're in, whatever it may be, then you're going to breathe 3 times deep, and you're going to smile. And it says that cue will cause the craving of happiness, and you will become happy just because you have done the thing that cued it. You've released the dopamine that we talked about. So anyways, that's those 3 chapters, guys. We are done with chapter 10. Moving right along in this book, I think there's 10 chapters total, so I think we're halfway through. I'm pretty sure. Maybe. Not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I'm really excited to start reading this new book. I'll have to let you guys know how it is. I'm hoping it gives me some really good strategies on studying my Bible and really delving in deep. Like I said, I'm trying to memorize scripture, working hard on that, and it's been very rewarding because I can say a lot of it. Like, I can say that many verses from memory, and I couldn't, a week or so ago. I couldn't. And so I'm proud of myself for that. I'm gonna be proud of myself. Anyways, I hope you guys liked it. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. We're doing daily vlogs, and I'll see you again tomorrow.